This is BBC1, time now 5:45, and it's time now for the BBC Evening News, Friday, June 6, 1975. Quoting from William Peter Wiggins, and here's what's happening on the BBC Evening News. Here, as polling booths closed last night at the end of the EEC referendum campaign, the indications were that an expected high turnout of about 60 to 70% might be expected. Independent television news predicted last night at 68.3% yes vote based on a survey of about 10,000 people by Opinion Research Center. Railway union leaders yesterday repeated their willingness to negotiate on their own terms, but steeled themselves for a strike up to 12 weeks in pursuit of a claim for wage rises up to 35%. The Executive Committee of the National Union of Railwaymen approved final strike instructions implemented. They will bring out more than 120,000 workers from June 23rd, paralyzing all rail services and further disrupting the economy for sympathetic action by miners, postal workers, road haulsmen, and power station workers. Mr. Sidney Weigel, General Secretary of the Union, UR, said the union was willing to spend its entire £11.5 million to win its case for lower paid railmen. Full-time officials at NUR would go on strike to pay a pay of $1.3 a week, with British rail staff involved in the stoppage, and the fund could stand a weekly drain of £400,000 for 3 months. I do not know what it is. The will to prove, if anybody is to battle with us, it'll be a bloody battle, whoever wins, Mr. Weigel said. Negotiations aimed at averting a stoppage are likely to begin next week after an initial sentence between the two sides 2 nights ago, but the NUR is committed to seeking a substantial improvement on the 27.5% arbitration award rejected last week, although it has been improved to acceptance to the other two railway unions. The status of an official rail strike became clear last night when the railwaymen released their text of circular branches, which calls for comprehensive industrial action everywhere on the system, including workshops, sea link services to the continent and Ireland, and in British transport docks. It disclosed that Mr. Weigel had been in contact with the National Union, the Mine Workers Union, the Post Office Workers, the Transport and General Workers Union, and the Trade Union inside the Electricity Supply National Joint Industrial Council, each of whom were indicated our willingness to ensure driving in this period of any rail stoppage, that traffic which normally goes by rail would not be moved any other means. All the NUR 7 branches are being recommended to cooperate with these unions locally so that the assurances given at national levels shall be translated in effective action in the localities. That would mean that picketing could be confined to railway premises. The strike instruction extends to our NUR members, including supervisors, does not directly involve such as London transport staff and 9,000 bus drivers in the Midlands and North and the Southwest who belong to the unions will be told not to run extra 2 trains of bus services that might weaken the effect of the stoppage. Members employed by the national carriers and the Freightliner system are being instructed not to take traffic normally carried by trains. Key dock members are such as our crane drivers are not to allow traffic usually moved by the train to go to alternative transport. That page list of instructions out of a plan of
it implies someone who knows you.
industrial action is designed to cripple the nation's transport system as quickly as possible to make the government concede to the union demands. The price of piece according to the NUR expense is £24 million. That is a net cost of implementing in a minimum range of 34.65
a resentful client.
pints
Even when I can think of specifically.
and pounds into the industry, and guaranteeing that nobody gets less than a 30% pay rise, taking into account threshold money being paid already. That cost of the original British rail offer was £51 million or £76 million that it provided to all railway workers. The McCarthy Tribunal Award, which goes to £77.5 million, which would have added an overall £116 million to the industry's annual bill. The NUR claimed the union says would push the first figure to £93.5 million with an overall impact of £140 million. But apart from the economic cost, there would be a heavy political price to bear. The union argues Mr. Weigel said yesterday he is in favor of a new social contract, but a strike would create serious divisions in the labor movement. Any possibly getting a better understanding of a more intelligent social contract will be wrecked, he said. The NUR proposal to give lower paid men a basic rate increase of $4.50 pounds as part of a
That's what he does, right?
package allowing 35% at the bottom tip and only 30% at the top of the scale would mean only coppers in terms of the disturbed differentials. If we cannot sell this, what chances are there of Jack Jones selling this concept of flat rate increases for all workers under a new social contract? He has not got a can in a hell chance because I'm only taking about struggle coppers or help men struggling at the bottom. Mr. Weigel was an £8,533 a year leader of the union, stands to lose more than £160 a week before tax, said the union, and build up its fund just such an eventually as approaching strike, all those resources will be used if necessary. The railwaymen were a highly disciplined labor force with a loyalty to their union second to none. When the calls goes out, every union will stop. I have not also at false covenants. There is a much loyalty here as there is over the world at NUM. At least 50 people were injured and an unknown number were trapped when at London and Glasgow's Sleeper Express was derailed in Nuneaton Trent Valley Station early today. 5 coaches were severely damaged. The accident was treated by the emergency services as a major disaster. More than 100 firemen went to the station. Almost every ambulance in North Warwickshire reported to an emergency control point. Many of the injured were in serious condition. The electric locomotive and the first 2 coaches of the 23:30 p.m. from Euston jumped at the rails when passing at the station shortly before 2 a.m. British Wales Midland region said that details were still unclear, but all 4 lines that were understood to have been blocked. The train was due to make its first stop at Carlisle.
The year is 1890. Milton Hershey has a killer recipe for caramel.
A new method of pregnancy tested and used in breakdown of isotopes, which gives us conclusive results only a week after conception have been developed at the T-Bob.
It's caramel.
Doctors at St. Bartholomew's Hospital in London, it reduces risk involved in above. The abortion to make termination possible well before the critical 8th week of pregnancy. New method disclosed on BBC television. Smiles World monitors changes in the hormone HCG release when an egg is fertilized. When a hormone antibody is being added to the urine sample, results are measured on a radioactive content and have approved it to be conclusive as early as 7 days after conception.
FDA approved for the topical treatment of acne.
Several measures to eliminate racial discrimination in Southwest Africa and Namibia were announced today by all the white legislative assembly in Windhoek. New laws will permit the admission of people of all races to hotels, restaurants, and cafes at the discretion of the owners. Discriminatory signs of public buildings are also to be removed. Owners of hotels and restaurants who decide to accommodate all races will be able to display a permanent sign stating clearly that all races are welcome. That signs will be of a specific size and design. The reforms of market departure from the apartheid practices in South Africa and order to coordinate with the South African government to plan to allow the mandatory territory move out autonomy in preparation for their eventual independence.
It's not for pain. It's just for sleep.
Miss Christina Onassis, daughter of Aristotle Onassis, the late ship owner, today announced her decision to give half of the Onassis fortune to charity. In a statement issued on her behalf in Paris, which have been the wish and comment of their father who died in March, it would be done in memory of her brother Alexander Onassis, who died in an air crash during 1973 at the age of 24. The decision to establish a benevolent institution of Vada's Liechtenstein or elsewhere for the purpose of funding or supporting benevolent institutions as well as aiding of her benevolent aims, with the understanding that such aims will be related to Greece. The family fortune, which consists mainly of a big tanker fleet as well as investment in shipyards, industry, property, and banking, between estimated range between £300 and £4 million. Mr. Silas Pompidou, Mr. Onassis' lawyer, who read out to the today, president of the office of Springfield Shipping, the company that manages the Onassis fleet, refused to elaborate. He indicated that the fund would finance medical help as well as educational, cultural, and literary objectives. Lord Thompson, a fleet chairman of the Thompson organization, was ill in the hospital yesterday, his 81st birthday. Lord Thompson was admitted into a private hospital on Wednesday night after a mild virus infection. He returned from a visit to China and several other Asian countries last week, and he expected to be in hospital for a few days.
Does for me is it keeps the food out before those little pieces would get in.
The first purpose-built laboratory for working in genetic engineering has been completed at the corporate laboratories of ICI, Runcorn, and Cheshire. The plan is to create new microorganisms by transferring pieces of genetic material between different bacteria, between animal cells and bacteria. Microbes will be designed for specific purposes such as finding different methods for the synthesis of drugs, development of organisms that concentrate valuable metals such as gold from low-grade ores, and breeding strains that develop waste oil and convert garbage into fuel. ICI has been to move experiments on any individual research basis before anyone else because of the special collaboration research scheme operations with the universities. The technique to snipping out genes from microscopic organisms and cells and transfer into them. The efforts have been devised by genetics at the Department of Molecular Biology at Edinburgh University. The theory has been worked out with simple and harmless strains of bacteria. Before the theory can be grafted to the experiments with a variety of other organisms on a larger scale, a laboratory with an unusual security and protection device to be built. Across the Runcorn laboratory, a small room within the bioscience department can be obtained by entering a code on the keyboard, controlling the lock on the armor-plated door. Every area of equipment has been designed to ensure that any spill is unable to escape. The strains of the organisms selected for the preliminary investigation are in fact intended to destroy themselves, and they look out. There are high hopes of creating bacteria that can synthesize insulin as a replacement for extracting the biochemical from the lining of a cow's stomach. The form of the genetic engineering is making the use of living organisms to do the work that the chemists are trying to do in the laboratory by synthesis. All experience and shows that nature can do things more efficiently when they are scientists when they are true under competition. The palpable fact remains that in developing genetic material, the macrobiologists might create in a commonplace organism found in human virtual strains carrying infections against what they are no antidote. The proposal of such a disaster led to a government report earlier this year recommending great caution and suggesting guidelines for safety.
Save up to $3,500. Don't wait. Quantities are limited. Come in now and take advantage of.
A review of the system and lessons in films is expected to be undertaken by various organizations after a decision by a jury at the Central Criminal Court yesterday at the Swedish film. More about the language of love is grossly indecent. The film, which shows acts of sexual intercourse and oral sex, was given an X certificate by the Greater London Council. A member of the Spanish Civil Guard was killed and another injured when two bus separatists hijacked the train traveling from San Sebastian to Bilbao yesterday. The hijackers stopped the train in a small town and escaped a waiting car. A judge declared void certain financial conditions by the British Boxing Board of Control attached to the permission of John Content to fight Willie Taylor in the United States on June 14th. The board, the judge said, had no power to impose any condition and had nothing to do with the fight itself. A review. Evidence shows security began by a civil service to concentrate on the vetting of sensitive information in the home departments. Security services are concerted delays in the vetting procedure. First quarter capital spending by the manufacturer was 8% down on the last 3 months. The next day, 4.6% below the average of the quarter level of last year. For the distributed and service industry, spending was 11% down on last year. Mr. Bernard Kornfeld, the American Financial, has been believed to be in London, has been indicted in Los Angeles for making 343 free overseas telephone calls by means of the blue box which terminates the charging system. Protests and publicity have led to the postponement of a proposed sterilization operation of a girl of 11. The pediatrician in charge said last night the girl said to suffer from an extremely rare disease. Talked in a separate settlement where resumed in Vienna yesterday under the chairmanship of Dr. Kurt Waldheim, the United Nations Secretary General, with both the Turkish Shepherd and Greek Shepherd leaders men in play in a maintaining poster of disagreement novel. Dr. Waldheim asserted that he was hopeful about the outcome. A very group of Republican militants believed to be responsible for the murders of 3 partisans are causing ground for concern. The government will risk a defeat of the Community Land Bill next week because of the move to exempt the churches and charities. And New York City officials reluctantly face the need for calling in state aid to prevent them from going bankrupt. In Washington, jubilant Republicans are preparing to announce Mr. Ford's reform candidate for the next presidential election. Austria, Dr. Karen's tells the mysterious deletions from the letter explaining his replacement as treasurer. Britain's Joe Bugner in Buxton says he will surprise Muhammad Ali in a world title bout in Kuala Lumpur. Bugner files out today he will fight there. Tobacco sales forecast of 10% drop in consumption this year, result of higher prices.
Hey.
I didn't expect to see you today. You have an appointment?
Check up with Dr. Chiverton.
And that's me with the BBC Evening News on this June the 6th, 1975. And on Friday, I'm Peter Wizard. Have a good evening, and I will see you later on. Bye-bye, buddy. And BBC will be back with the 9 o'clock news.
Okay. The rest of you?
Urgently required. Prime commercial and industry properties as investments for a number of clients. Richard Ellis. Chartered Spears at 64 Cornell, London, ECSV, 3PS, telephone 01-283-3090.
There's still some.
Richard Ellis. Coming up on BBC1 at 6 o'clock will be...
I appreciate it.
Referendum result.
What I told